Welcome to the Chief Architect Building Demonstration. My name is Emily and I will be presenting for you today. We also have Kayla with us on chat, so if you have any questions throughout today's webinar, feel free to chat those into Kayla. And before we get going with our building demonstration, I wanted to cover that GoToMeeting control panel a little bit. So the first area is your audio. So the standard is to select that mic and speakers. I do have everybody muted today, so you will not need a mic, just your speakers. And if you're not able to hear me correctly through your speakers, single click on that sound check option, and that will help adjust the levels within GoToMeeting. Or if that just doesn't work out quite right, select that telephone radio, and a phone number will show up there for you so you can dial in. If you don't see this large control area, it will minimize to this little panel. Just select that orange arrow button and that will restore our larger control area. The next option is the questions. So at the very bottom here, type in any question that you have, select send, and Kayla will be getting those today and responding to you. So we'll be covering kind of an overall building design within Chief Architect Premier today. And we're going to start out with going over our walls, going through the different wall types, drawing those out, dimensioning our walls, creating our space. And then we'll work towards our openings, dropping in our doors and windows and modifying those. And then we'll build our foundation and a second story. And then we'll get into our roof, a little bit about our deck design tools and landscaping. Then we'll get into our structural when we place our framing. And then we'll move into the interior design a little bit and conclude with the materials list and plan set. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to chat those in to Kayla. So I've opened up a new plan in our Chief Architect Premier software. And across the top, you'll notice our standard toolbar. So these are all of the common tools that you'll be using in your design. So I'm going to start out with my straight wall tool. We also have a curved wall option that you can select. And once you select that parent tool, you'll find different child options over on the left-hand side. We also have a drop-down toolbar that you can use as well. So there's a couple different options for your preference. I'm going to use our child option, so they're all going to show up over on the left-hand side. So we have our exterior wall, interior, foundation, wall, and many more options that you can choose from. I'm going to start out with my exterior wall. I'm going to click and drag, and as I drag that across my screen here, you'll notice a temporary dimension will appear. So I have an idea of how long that wall is. You can also single click on the wall once you've placed that, single click on that temporary dimension, and I'm going to type in 56 feet, half an inch, so we can be accurate with that first wall here. I'm going to zoom out slightly just with the scroll wheel on my mouse. You can zoom in and out and just hold down that scroll wheel to pan the plan. So a couple of efficiency tools there for you. Then I'm just going to continue working here. I'm not going to be too concerned about my dimensions at this point. So I'm just going to click and drag out all of my walls to get the basic shape that I would like here. We'll just continue drawing these out. And once we get all of our walls connected, it will automatically drop in our exterior dimensions and then create a living area and calculate that square footage for us. It'll also do a couple more things. So let's get into our 3D view and see what has happened. With our camera view tool, I'll select our floor overview. This will automatically cut off our ceiling that's generated, so we have a dollhouse view. I'm going to just zoom in here a little bit, you'll notice that our flooring is automatically placed for us. We have base molding in our room, we have our siding placed, our drywall placed, so everything is kind of coming together. We don't have to do a lot of extra steps to create our design. And just to give you an idea with our wall options, I'm going to single click on just one of the walls here. I'm going to open that up. So when you select any object within the program, you'll go down to your editing toolbar at the very bottom here. And there's an open object, so we can get in there and specify it further. For our wall types, we have a Siding 6 wall type chosen as our default. And through our wall types, we do have many different predefined wall options for you. If you are using something custom, you can get into your define area, modify this wall type. You can copy it and make a whole new wall type if you'd like to as well. So pretty easy to customize your construction there. I'm just going to cancel out of our wall here since we don't need to make any modifications. Another area I wanted to show you is our room. So when I single click in our room, I can open that up, and this is an area where you can get into the structure and change the ceiling height, your floor height, whether you even want a ceiling over this room, or it can just automatically follow the roof planes. So a couple different controls through your structure. And then you can also get into your molding tab and change the base molding, any crown molding and so forth. Change your wall coverings in here as well. So as I mentioned, all of these materials and how everything is set up is defined in my defaults, and you can set those up before you get going right through edit and default settings. So if you have standard wall type, standard flooring, ceiling heights and so forth, just get into your default settings and you can create your own template plan for all of those custom options that you specify. Alright, so now that we have our 3D view, I'm going to tile vertically. Across the top you'll see we have two different tabs. One is our 3D camera, the other is our floor plan. So you can grab one of these tabs and just drag it down, and that will enable you to tile vertically. You can also drag that tab onto a separate monitor. So if you work with two different monitors, just drag one onto the other. Really helps maximize your workspace. So I'm going to zoom in slightly here, and we are going to modify our dimensions a bit. So I'm going to single click on my bottom wall here, and then single click on our perpendicular dimension. And I'm going to just work around our design here, typing in the exact dimensions that I would like and hitting enter on my keyboard. So we'll just single click on a wall, single click on that dimension there, type it in, hit enter. So it's very easy to manipulate and modify your dimensions once you have everything placed. So once you have that done, pretty quick and easy to finalize the design. Okay, now that I have everything dimensioned, I'm going to add some more walls. So let's get right back to our wall tool and select our interior wall. And I'm just going to click and drag down an interior wall here. We're going to just start working in our plan and defining new spaces and creating our rooms. Now that we have our rooms in here, I'm going to dimension a little bit further, and you'll notice when I do put the new walls in here, the exterior dimensions will automatically update with us. So we'll click on this guy and let's move that to about 24 feet. And I've been using my automatic exterior dimensions. We also have more manual dimensions. So through this ruler, our dimensioning tool, I'm going to select our interior dimension tool. We do have many different options, so you can place the dimensions on here as you need for your own accuracy. and then I'll single click on that wall. We're going to redimension this guy to 11 feet 9 inches. And let's move this guy in just a little bit. We're going to create an office space here. So we'll do 9 feet 5. So now that we have our rooms placed and everything is dimensioned, I'm going to talk about our rooms a little bit further. I'm going to double click on my 3D view here so we can expand that. Through our room specification, so single click on that room and open it up for specification, we have different room type options for you. And with the program's knowledge, we can kind of pre-program a lot of the work for you. So when we want to change this to a garage, it's going to automatically update the flooring to slab and do all of the foundation requirements that we need for our garage. And let's get into this room and modify that to a laundry room. So through the defaults again, you can control how utility rooms are specified. So I have it set up so it will automatically change our flooring to a tiled material for any utility room. So that's going to be a kitchen or bathroom, laundry, and so forth that will automatically update when we change that room type. And I'm going to do one more just to give you another idea here. So for this room, it will be our office. And for those living spaces, everything's going to stay the same, except when we get back into our floor plan, you'll notice our room labels are presented there for us. Now that we have all of our rooms specified, let's start working with our openings. And before I move on, I'm just going to delete all of our dimensions that we have here. We don't really need those at this point, so I'm going to go up to Edit, Delete All Objects, and we're going to delete our manual and automatic. And yes, we will be turning off the auto refresh dimensions for those exteriors. And there we go. So that's cleaned up a bit. Let's get back into our 3D view and start working with our window tools. And once you're in your 3D view, you can move around very easily by selecting one of our Move Camera with Mouse options. So that tool is up in our toolbar here, and I use the first option, Mouse Orbit Camera. So just click and drag, and you can orbit that camera around. So let's start with our front wall here. And I'm going to keep both views open so you can see what happens in our floor plan and a 3D view. Let's just make our 3D view a bit larger here. So across the top, I'll select my standard window tool. So we do have a standard window, bay window, box, bow, or a pass-through tool. So with my standard window, I'll just click and drop that in. And I'm going to zoom into the floor plan so you can see that a little bit. So that will automatically place our window, cut out our opening, and we're all set. Let's open that for specification. So once we have that open, we can change our window type. I'm going to select our single casement and change our width. We're going to widen that out slightly to 36. And for our height, I need that a little larger. We're going to do 54. And then through our panel options, we can get into different casings or sill information. I'm going to get into our lights here and change it to a prairie and add a few lights in here. And we'll put in some vertical, maybe 1, 2 more. There we go. You can also control your shape, add a different arch on here, window treatment, shutters. You can get into this specific window and control the framing if you have different headers and so forth. We also have energy value information that you can enter for ResCheck, so that can be calculated. That looks pretty good for now. Just select OK. And there is one more thing I'd like to change, and that's the material. You can do that right through that window specification, but I really like using our material eyedropper. I'm going to single click on the material eyedropper and then single click on our white trim here. And you can see my cursor has changed to a paint roller. So that means it's going to blend the white material with any texture that I have. I'm going to turn off that paint roller because I don't want to keep any of that texture. I'm just going to go right down to my editing toolbar and deselect our paint roller there. So now my cursor is a spray can. So I can just single click and apply that onto that material. We'll be using this tool a little bit further down the road here when we do our exterior, so I'll get into even more detail at that time as well. So now that we have our window all set up here, this is my standard window I would like to use throughout the rest of my design. So I want to set this as my default. I'll select it, go down to my editing toolbar, click on set as default, and now when I select my standard window, bring it right down onto my plan, drop it in. That is my standard window that I'm placing. And once you do have multiple windows placed, you can single click and multi-select. I'm holding down Control on my keyboard to multi-select on all three. And then I'm going to select the Make Mold Unit down in my editing toolbar to make that one unit. So that will frame that unit as one, and we can then add it to our library. So if this is a standard kind of window type that you put in, you can add it to your library and then save it to your own folder. We have different folder options. Our core catalog, bonus, and manufacturer are all objects and materials that we provide to you. And then the user catalog is your own custom catalog, so anything you create or import into the program, you will have that extra flexibility in saving all of the work that you do. So let's just maximize our 3D view here since we don't have a lot of real estate. So let me zoom around slightly with my Orbit tool. And we're going to drop in a few more windows. So I already have a mold unit put together here. So I'm going to just drop that in. And then let's put in a few more windows. Let's select our standard window and I'm going to center that over the mold unit. So at the bottom here, I'll select my center object tool, bring it right onto that top window, single click, and now that is centered. So very quick and easy to drop that in. And there we go. So pretty quick and easy to drop in additional window options as you need. So I'm going to close out of our library here. And let's drop in a door, a front door here. So I'll just click and drop that into place. You can also single click on that object and editing handles will appear so you can modify the size. I'm just going to open that up to show you a little bit more about our door options. You can change the door style. So this is our standard kind of hinge door. And then you can change that to a slab, glass, panel, louvered, and so forth. So you do have those options. And those are kind of the basic options. You can get into the library and then be more specific, like this style is available in our library. So that will expand the different door style options. You can see it's a hinged door. You can change the door type here too. And for the width, I'm going to change that to 6 feet. Make that a little bit larger for our entry. And just like our window options, you will have further control through the panel over on the left-hand side. That's all I need to do for now, so I'll select OK. And let's rotate around a bit. So I've placed that door, just that standard hinge door, on that exterior wall, and it placed our exterior door. When I place it on an interior wall, it will automatically place our interior door style that we have set up in our defaults. So we don't have to go through multiple steps. The program is thinking for us. So let's get back into our floor plan and add a few more. Let's center our entry door. So I'll use that center object tool again. Bring it into the room and just single click. And you'll notice when I placed my door, it just automatically put in a hinge or swing side. So we can modify that just with the editing tool. And let's move that down a bit. Then I'll get right back into my door tool and we're going to just drop in another door here. And this is connected to an exterior space, to our garage space. So that will think that it needs to be an exterior door. And it's not quite that style I'm going for, so let's just change that to a panel and modify that. We're going to place in a few more here. Maybe let's do one into our office space. And let's drag that out a bit and open that up. And I'm going to change this one to be glass, so it's kind of our French door style. And down in our editing toolbar, we can also show that as open, so we can have our open doors. Next, I'll get into my doorway, and we're just going to drop in a doorway here. And I'm not going to be too specific, but I'll just move that over slightly and drop in another guy and modify the width. And then we'll drop in our sliding door on the back wall here and some garage doors. And I think we'll be done. Next, let's work with our foundation tools. I'll close out of my 3D view here and get into our build floor tools. We can build additional stories, which we will in just a minute, and then we can build our foundation. So let's start out by building our foundation. And I'm going to automatically rebuild our foundation. If we decide to move any of our walls on the first floor, it will automatically update and rebuild the foundation. We do have different foundation types for you to choose from. I'll be using our walls with footings to create our foundation today. You can also change that to the grade beams on piers or the monolithic slab option. You can control your slab thickness, get into your stem wall options. I'm going to just start out with creating a crawl space. You can get into your wall type if you would like to for those stem walls as well and modify that. You'll have garage options, so changing your stem wall top and so forth right through here. Through the options panel, you can define your rebar and other reinforcement information before you build. So I'll select OK and we'll build our foundation. Let's get into a 3D view. We'll use that floor overview camera again, and that will show us our garage space with our slab and all of our stem walls and that crawl space area. So let's make some modifications. I'm going to go up to our first floor. So you'll notice that brought us down to floor 0. So we can go up to our floor 1, and I am going to open up our interior wall just by double clicking on that. So double clicking on objects will also open them up for specification. And underneath the structure, I am going to change this to a bearing wall. So this will automatically rebuild our foundation with a foundation wall underneath there. And I'll just select that wall and drag that out. And yes, I would like to update that. Thank you. So now that we have another space created, I'm going to get into my floor plan, go back down to my foundation level, and I want to create a kind of live-in basement in this section. So we'll have a slab, a live-in basement, and a crawl space. So let's open that up, and underneath the structure panel, I can change our ceiling height. Let's do maybe 96 inches there. And let's add a floor under this room. So this will give us a preview of what we are changing. I'll select OK, and that will automatically update and rebuild our foundation for us. So now we have some basement space. All right, let's get out of our foundation level and build a second story. So we'll get right back into our build floor tool, build a second story, and yes, I would like to derive this from our first floor plan. I'll select OK, and this will give you that flexibility to change your ceiling height and all that information. But you can always change that later, like I did with our foundation. Select OK, and that will build our second story. So now we're up to level 2, and I would like to see what's going on that first floor. So on our toolbar on the right hand side, I have a reference display. So that will bring up in red all of the different walls that we have on that first floor. So let's move a few of our walls. I'm just going to move them slightly. I'm not going to be too specific here, but that'll give you an idea of what we're doing. Next, let's get right back into our interior wall tool, and I'm going to just drop in some interior walls. I'm going to select that interior wall. You'll notice it doesn't quite match up with the wall below. Once you have that selected and it's pretty close to that wall below, you'll have a tool in your editing toolbar at the bottom to align with that wall below. So pretty quick and easy to get that accuracy. And I'll just click and drag another one over here. Let's get into our railing tool. For the railing options, this is where you'll find our interior and the exterior railing tools. So we'll just click and drag out a railing. And again, I'll single click on that and align it with the wall below. So let's get into our 3D view and see what's happening on this floor. So you'll see that we have our rooms defined, and since we placed a railing across that space, it will divide it into 2 different rooms. So I can open up this front room and change our room type to an open below, and that will open up the space so we can see down into our first floor. I'm going to rotate over a little bit here. We're going to start working with our stair tools so we can get from our first floor to that second floor. So I'm going to turn off my reference display and just go right down to our first floor, grab our stair tool, and just click and drag. Just going to click and drag 2 sets of stairs here. Click right in between, and that will automatically build our landing for us. So I'll single click on our staircase, open that up for specification, and we have 2 different areas here. You can go through kind of an automatic make best fit, or we have a manual area so you can control those staircases to your own specification. And since we have an L shape, there are 2 separate sections, so that's why we have 2 section numbers here. So you can go through here and modify. You can lock the tread depth, and that will expose the tread options, so you can modify those as well. I'm going to go with our automatic route, and this is where you can also get into different styles. And through our newels and balusters, I'm going to uncheck railing on the left, so I only have that on the right hand side. And you can change your handrails, materials, and so forth through here as well. That looks pretty good, so I'll select OK. And let's view this in our 3D view. And everything has been created for us. So we need a landing up here, so let's get right back into our floor plan. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit, go up to my second story, and let's break our railing and then just drag it out a bit. We have a break wall tool, which enables us to break that railing. click on that railing and it will temporarily just break our room. So we don't have a room there, but let's just bring that railing right back over, and now we do. And I think it's a little too far over the stairs, so I'm going to drag it back a little bit. There we go. And it will automatically create an opening, a doorway for us, so we can get right up onto that second story. And I'm going to draw in some walls underneath our stairs. So I'll go right back to our first floor to do that. Select our interior wall, and I'm just going to click and drag that wall right underneath our staircase. So with our program, it will just automatically clip those walls. So we can easily create a storage area, or if we're going to do some more stairs down to our basement, kind of defines that for us as well. And I did want to add one more feature on our second story. Let's create a bump out. Going to reference the floor below again so I can see where our windows are on that first floor. Use our break wall tool, and I'm not going to be too accurate today, just wanted to give you an idea. You can break those walls, bring it out here, and in that 3D view you'll see that that room definition is lost, but let's reconnect all of our walls here so that room will be defined for us again. And now we have a little bump out on our second story. Now that we've created our structure, let's move into our roof design tools. So I will just close out of our 3D view, and let's turn off that reference display. Go back down to our first floor, and I'm hitting F6 on my keyboard. That kind of gets us into that full view here. And we'll get into our automatic roof tools. We do have many different manual roof options, so you can get into complex roof designs. We also have skylights and dormers and so forth to utilize. But through our build roof option, this is our kind of automatic tool for you. So I'll select our roof styles here first. It will automatically place on our hip roof. We can then change it to have different gable ends, or you can do a shed roof, offset gable, and so forth. And if you click on any of these, it will bring up steps on how to create that for you. Underneath that roof panel, I'll select Build Roof Planes, and I'm going to automatically rebuild the roof. So if I do make any changes, I don't have to get back into this area to rebuild. Just going to do that for me. And then you can specify your pitch, any roof overhang, your roof height. So this is a great area for a 1.5-story situation, or energy heels and so forth. And then, of course, through our panel options, you'll have even more control. For the framing, we can automatically build the framing, but I'm going to wait until we get into our framing tools to do this. And then you'll have different profiles that you can modify for your gutters, frieze, shadow boards, ridge caps, change your materials, but that's good enough for now. So I'll select OK. And that will automatically build our roof for us. And you can see the dashed green lines on our first floor here. And if we go up to the second story, you'll see all of the different roof planes, and you can single click on each one to modify. But I'll get into our 3D full overview so we can see this in a 3D view. And let's make some modifications. I'm going to single click on this wall, and you'll notice I've selected the entire floor. So I'm going to just hit Tab on my keyboard to get to the next closest object. And with our wall selected, we can open that up, and underneath the roof panel, change all of our different roof options here. So we're telling the wall how to communicate with the roof. So I'll single click on our full gable wall, and that will change our roof style there. We do have a shortcut, so once you select that wall, down in our editing toolbar we have a change to gable wall. So that's a pretty quick and easy way to modify your design. And while we're in this 3D view, I'm just going to copy our window there. So we have a copy tool down in that editing toolbar. Let's just paste it on that bump out. So the front of this house is looking pretty bare. I wanted to get into our deck design tool, so let's add a deck on front of the house here, drop in our terrain perimeter, and then change our materials so we can start polishing up our front view of our structure a little bit here. So first I'm going to build our terrain. Underneath the terrain dropdown, I can click on the create terrain perimeter, and that will just automatically put a rectangular terrain on our structure. Back in our floor plan, we can get into our dimensioning tools and be a little bit more specific with our terrain perimeter. I want to show the setbacks. So I'll select my end-to-end dimension. I'm going to zoom out slightly here. And I'll just click and drag out our dimensions. And then we can use these to define that setback a little bit further here. So I'll single click on the very edge of our perimeter, single click on our perpendicular dimension, and I'm going to change that to about 62 feet. And I'm just going to round here. I'm not going to be too specific. So let's bring this one out to maybe 26 feet. And the other one on the other side here we'll do 30 feet. Give it a little space. And for the backyard, let's bring that out to maybe 56 feet. So this was a very simple kind of example here. You can get into even further landscape controls. You can angle your terrain perimeter. You can get your own custom survey information done, input it into the program, add different terrain elevations, so you can really get into creating a very custom site plan if you needed to show that. So we do have even more training materials on site plans and so forth if you're interested. I'm not going to get into too much detail today here. We're going to focus on our deck design here. So let's zoom in to the front. I'm just going to move over our dimension line, get back into our railing tools, and use our deck railing. We have a straight deck or the curved deck railing, or you can do the deck edge or a polygon shape, which is a very quick and fast tool for you. So I'll just click and drag out some railings here, connect all of the walls, and then it will define our deck for us. Let's dimension that, do maybe 9 feet 6 inches. And I'll get into our 3D view as well. Let's tile vertically, see what's happening in our 3D view. So now that we have our deck placed, I want to open up that room a little bit and define a few things here. So with our structure tab, I'm going to place a roof over this room and a ceiling over this room. And then I'll get into my deck panel, and you can change your plank overhang, the width. You can do your gap width, your plank direction. So if you wanted to change your plank direction, like having angled planks in here, you can do that. And then add border planks, and then adjust your deck joist information right here as well. And then through your deck support, you can modify your beam options if you needed to change the size or the type. And that's good for now, so I'll select OK, and that will update. Let's get into our railings next and modify our roof pitch and give it a little bit of support. So I'll open up our railings, and I've just selected all of them at the same time by holding down Control on the keyboard. Under our roof panel, I'll change that down to maybe 5 and 12. And under our newels and balusters, you can change your railing height. Let's change our posts to maybe 4 inches. Give it a little bit more structure there. Underneath our rail style, I'm going to get into that nulls and posts specification to go up to a beam. Select OK, and that will update for us. And for our roof, I also would like to put a gable end on just a portion of this front roof section. So to do that, I am going to break our railing and single click on just that portion. So I put a little line here so I can only select one section, and then we'll change that to a gable. Now let's drop in some stairs. So we'll get back into our stair tool. I use the straight stair on the interiors. We also have curved stairs, ramp tools, landing options, but I'll use our click stair this time. So with the click stair, just bring your cursor right outside of that railing, and then we can just drop it in, and it will calculate how many treads need to be there to meet the terrain. And I'll just resize that a bit. Alright, and you'll notice that it will automatically create our doorway for us in that opening. So pretty quick and easy to create your deck space here. I'm just going to open up our 3D view, and let's work with some different materials. I'll open up the library. So these books indicate our library here, and we are going to apply some different materials. And you know what, while we're in our window area, let's just drop in a window in this room, and you can just drop that in and move it down however you need to. And then I have a few other windows here too. I'll just drop in two and bring those down slightly. Alright, so with our materials, I have some already selected from our core library. So these are just standard materials that we have available for you. I'll single click on our shingles and then bring my cursor right onto this attic wall area. Click, and it will let me know that it's changing that automatically generated wall, and that's fine. And then I'll do the front of that wall as well, and maybe the side. And we'll do this last one. Alright, so for the rest of our siding, I've selected an olive siding. And instead of using the component mode, which will automatically apply that just to one wall, we can get into our plan mode. So with one click, it will apply that to all of that blue siding in our entire plan. So that's pretty efficient to go through those different modes to apply that to the scope of your design. Next, I would like to match materials. So I'll use my material eyedropper, click on the white so I kind of absorb that white trim, and I'm going to apply that onto some of our different materials here on the porch. Let's do our balusters here. And the stair material is a very similar material to some interior flooring that I have. So I'll get right back into component mode, so I only change these stairs instead of the stairs on the interior as well. We can also define materials after they've been placed. So I'm going to single click on our adjust material definition, single click on that shingles material, and we can modify the material that is applied to that shingle texture. Let's make that a bit darker. So I'll just click and drag that down, select OK, and in our texture panel I can blend that. So I'll blend that darker color with the texture of our shingles and make that pop a little bit more. So pretty quick and easy to modify your materials and adjust your design. So I'm going to make our library a little bit smaller there and get into a different view. So now that we have our structure completed, I wanted to move to the interior space a little bit here. So I'm going to click on my camera, and this time I'll use my full camera. So click and drag into the space. So now we're standing in the room, and you can see everything has been set up here for us. I'm just going to tile vertically again. So this will be a kitchen space, and you can start designing with our cabinet tools. We have our base cabinet, wall cabinet, full height, soffit, shelf partition, custom countertop tools, and so forth. And then you can find all of our different appliances and so forth right through the library. I already have a kitchen blocked together, so I can just select that and drop it in. I'm just going to move it over slightly. So you can see our kitchen is all put together. So if you have a standard layout, you can block an entire kitchen together and drop it into place. And when we're in our view here, for the window, I'm going to place that right over our sink area, and that will automatically resize to fit over our cabinetry. So you don't have to do any additional steps to resize that. Another efficiency tool in Chief Architect software. And we don't have a sink placed in there yet. I wanted to show you how easy it is to place your fixtures. So underneath our core catalog, I'll just get into our architectural folder, into fixtures, get into our sinks, kitchen sinks, and I'll just do an undermount here, and we'll do a 32-inch. So we'll bring our cursor right onto the cabinet, single click, and drop that into place. Next, I wanted to talk about our lighting. So we do have different electrical tools, one being a standard light fixture. And I have this set up as a recessed light because that is my standard fixture that I use. You can also get into our library and change the different lighting. You can see there's pendant lights already placed in here, many different options. And once you start dropping in your recessed light, that will automatically update your 3D view and change your lighting for you. So you can adjust each individual light fixture and the intensity of light that it's put out. And then we can get into some more electrical information. I'm just going to close out of our 3D view and focus on our 2D view and get into our outlets. You can just drop in your different outlets that you need to and place those accordingly. Drop in a few switches, so I'll just drop in a switch here and use your Connect Electrical to create your electrical plan. So very quick and easy to modify and create the plans that you need to. Next, let's create our framing. So with our framing tool, we have an automatic build option. So I'm going to automatically build our floor and ceiling framing. So we're going to start out on that foundation level. So we'll build the floor framing for our first floor. So you can get in and edit your floor structure. So modify your floor sheathing. And then we also have your structure as an I-joist, but you can change that if you are building a little bit differently there. So it'll automatically show up as an I-joist for you. You can change all of the different thicknesses here, insert, additional, delete, so you can modify how that floor structure is created. And then change your spacing, your joist width, the rim joist width, and of course that rim joist type if you need to. And then how that bears on the beam and your blocking. And I'm just going to go through our other stories here. So I'll build our ceiling framing. Same thing here, you can get into your ceiling structure. We'll build the floor framing and the ceiling framing for the second story there. And then for our wall options, I'm going to automatically rebuild those as we make changes to our walls and the openings. And we'll build our wall framing. You can change your plates, your blocking, and so forth through here. Underneath our opening panel, you can change your header span table, modify that, and this will apply to all of the different openings. and the header sizes and so forth. But as I showed you earlier, you can control this on an individual basis per opening. And then for your posts, you can get in here and edit your post options. For instance, if you have the solid concrete, it will give you options for your rebar and that other reinforcement information. And then we'll build our roof structure. So this will automatically build our stick framed roof structure, but you can also work with trusses as well. So we'll select OK, and this will ask me if I would like to show my framing, because currently that layer is off. So it's not going to be visible to us. And I would like to keep that off, so I do not want it to be displayed. But I'll show you how we can see that. So this is our default set, kind of just shows us our standard view here. Through our framing set, so these are all of the framing members being turned on. Next to our framing set, this is our display option. So this will give you tools to turn on or off your different layers. So whatever you'd like to see, you control that. I'm going to zoom in here, give you some information. So you can see that you can select each framing member individually and modify that. You can also get into a 3D view of your framing, and even in your 3D view you can select the framing members and modify. Or let me get back to my default set here and zoom out to our front wall. I'm going to single click on that front wall, and in our editing toolbar I'll single click on Open Wall Detail. So this will open up our framing for this individual wall, and you can modify it here. And I have our auto rebuild framing on, so if I select our window and move it, that will update our framing as well and move it with us. So it gives us a lot of flexibility and efficiency, so you don't have to go through and manually update all of your framing if you move your window an inch. So before we get into creating our plan set, I wanted to show you our materials list. Under Tools, you can find many different options like our schedules. You can do door schedules, window schedules, but you'll also find our materials list. I'm going to calculate from all floors, and this will bring up all of the different information that has been placed in our design. So under the general, we will have some information that we can plug into ResCheck for energy calculations. And if I scroll down here, you'll see our foundation. We do have different columns, and there is one for price. So if you type in $100 there per cubic yard, that will update for you and give you your cost estimate. And if I just scroll all the way down here, you can see interior trim, appliances, electrical. So this will gather everything for you that you've placed in your design. You can also export this to Excel, HTML, text, CSV, so you can work with this information in other programs as well. And then you can also add additional columns for any markup, labor, equipment. So there's a bit of flexibility there for you as well. I'm going to close out of our materials list, and we'll get into a layout page. So that is a separate document that will enable us to create our plan set. So under File, I'll just do a new layout. So this will automatically give you a border here and your title block, and you can change that however you would like. Just use the different line CAD tools across the top on page 0. And then if we go up to page 1, everything on page 0 replicates on every other page. So let's get back into our floor plan, and we can get into our auto exterior dimensions here. Let's just drop those on. And just to give you an idea here, if you would like to modify, you can single click on that individual line and you can add or remove different points. So you will have different diamonds where you can click and drag that off, or you can click on that diamond, drag it right back on, and modify that to your own needs. So we'll send this to our layout page and we can specify what page that's on and our scale. That looks great, so I'll select OK. And yes, it has come over just fine, so I'll select OK again. And then you can modify and bring in your lines here. I don't need my entire terrain in there, so I'm just going to drag that in a bit and up. And there we go. I'm going to go right back to my floor plan here just to show you a cross section. So I'll get into my orthographic camera tool, use my back clip cross section tool, so I'll just click and drag out, we'll just do a section there. And that will bring up all of the different layers here. We can use our auto detail, so that will automatically bring in our installation, different patterns that we need. And then we can also get into our display options if we wanted to show a little bit more with our framing. I'm just going to scroll down slightly here, and anything that has a plus sign means that that is being used in the current view, and we can check to make sure that that's being displayed. So select OK, and that will update for us. We also have CAD details already created for you in our library. So let me get right back into my folder here, and I have a detail that I've chosen from our library. I'll just single click, drop that in, and let's zoom in here a little bit. So I'm going to move that slightly. There we go. And you'll see all of the different details specified for us. We can also single click on that CAD block, explode it, just like our architectural blocks. We can explode that so we can modify each individual component and edit that. You can also create your own, block it together, add it to your library for your own resources for the future. So I want to show you a little bit more complete plan sets that have been created within Chief Architect. I'm going to bring you right over onto chiefarchitect.com. And underneath our User Center, we can get into our Samples Gallery. And underneath the plan sets, you'll notice that we do have many different options, and there will be the actual plan that you can open and use. There will be a PDF, so this is the actual plan set, and the how to design videos will be available in most cases as well. So I'll open up the PDF of this Riverstone plan. So you can go through and see the site plan that's created, the floor plan, all of the notes and legends, and we do have some of those already available in our library for you. So get in here and go through all of the kind of information for a larger scope on what those construction documents can look like. We also have a trial version, so if you haven't been in the program yet, under products, you'll notice we have two different programs, the Premiere and the Interiors. To create everything I did today, you'll be looking at that Chief Architect Premiere, and we do have a free trial download for you. Just select that download option, and then we have an overview video as well, so that's a great resource to use while you're using the trial version and working through the program a little bit. So that Chief Architect Premiere is for the full residential and light commercial design work, and is priced at the $2,695. We also have a rental option, so you can rent the software for $199 a month, and if you rent for 15 consecutive months, you would then own the software. So that'll break it up for you a little bit. And then the Interiors version will just focus on all of those interior design aspects, and that one's $1,995. Each one will include 1 year of the support and software assurance. So that will include priority technical support, give us a call, email into our tech support team. They're here to help you out. And then we have training videos right through the website, different manufacturer catalogs and bonus catalogs. You'll receive any new releases that come out, and then get discounts on training services and additional licenses. So if you have any further questions, feel free to chat those in. We'll be on for another few minutes to answer those questions for you. Thanks so much for attending and have a wonderful day.